Hey guys, welcome back. Today we are going to be talking about the new eyeshadow palette from Becca, the Ocean Jewels palette. Comes in this pretty circular case here, looks like a shell on the front, and there are 7 shades inside. So the palette retails for $42 Canadian on the Sephora website, and you're getting 14 grams of product, so about 2 grams per pan, which is actually a surprising amount considering the size of the pans aren't overly large. In fact, I think the size of the palette is disproportionately large to the size of the pans. It's just an awful lot of added space where I think they could have compacted it a bit or made the pans larger just to make, to justify the size of the palette itself. What I'm flashing around is one of the pans from Makeup Geek, and in here you get 1.8 grams of product, and you can see when if I can do this without dropping it, when I line it up, they are roughly the same, but there is a little bit of an overlap in the pan size from Becca compared to Makeup Geek. So they are generous pan sizes. The lighting of this video is going to be completely messed up. I don't know how to make my camera not react when light reflects back at it. So I'm going to be dark and light and dark and light, and I really apologize for that. But in terms of the finishes of the shadows that you receive, there are 2 matte shades. You've got a cream and like a chocolate brown here, and they are so smooth. This brown is beautiful. And then you have 3 metallic shades. So you have like a taupey sort of brown over here, a copper shade, and then this iridescent purple, which looks like this and is very pretty if it would focus right there. And then the one in the center and then this shade over here are both considered to be toppers. So now that I've done extremely messy finger swatches, let's actually swatch these on the arm. Alright, so first up is Seashell, and we have Abalone, and then Ocean Jasper, and Mermaid Pearl. This one is Tourmaline, Sandstone, and Spirit Quartz. So the only one that doesn't really show up on my skin is Seashell there, which is that cream shade. The rest of them are beautiful. This brown is just so smooth. There is no patchiness to it whatsoever, and it blends beautifully. And the toppers, for being toppers, whatever, you get the point. For being toppers, they are very pigmented, and you could get away with using them just on their own. And then this metallic purple duochrome shade here is just beautiful. For my eye look today, I used all 7 shades because I wanted to see how they worked. I wanted to see if any of the shadows were duds or if they all blend nicely together, and I'm happy to report that they do. The mattes, like I've said, are smooth and blend beautifully, especially that darker one. With darker matte shades, sometimes you can get some skipping or some patching, or you really have to work to blend them out. This one, as you will see in the eye tutorial coming up, it just blends beautifully. I just had to use one brush on it and it placed it nicely. It didn't rain down onto my cheeks, and it just blended like a dream. The metallic shades are just that. They are very metallic. Again, they don't bunch up and they don't create fallout. For the look I did today, as I explained in the tutorial, I didn't wet any of them with setting spray. I just wanted to see how they applied straight out of the pan. All of them have very good pigmentation, with the exception of the cream, but that's likely just a result of the color of it. It very much matches my skin tone, so it's not going to show up if it's matching, that kind of thing. And the toppers are also beautiful, and again, don't create any fallout. They aren't glittery, they are just this reflective, duochromatic shadow, which they're smooth as anything and just absolutely beautiful. As for the shade selection that you're receiving, this isn't the most colorful palette. As you can see, the only real color that you're getting is the purple shade here. You can kind of argue that this one is because it has that bluish green red shift to it, but this is certainly not a colorful palette by any means. So in terms of the versatility, Where that's going to come into play is playing around with the toppers and seeing what different shades you can sort of create in that regard. And from just playing with it, I have found that the dark brown is the best for layering the toppers on top of, because you get the biggest difference. So if I put the brown down here, again, look how smooth that is, it's beautiful. And then I've taken Mermaid Pearl, the white center shade. And if you apply that on top, it almost becomes like a greenish brown. So you can manipulate the shades a bit and get a little bit creative in that regard, but by no means is this a versatile or overly bright palette. It's certainly not outside of the box. However, that does make it very user-friendly, especially when it's paired with the blendability of these shadows and how easily they apply. It's not going to overwhelm anybody. It's really not an intimidating shade selection. There's no dark black. The brown is deep without being scary about it, and the shades are just great for everyday selections. There really are no shades in here that I have any complaints about. Although the cream shade doesn't show up, that makes it perfect for setting an eyelid primer. And I would suggest using an eyelid primer with these, especially if you're just going to go in with a topper, just so that you're really holding it in place. I really have no complaints about this palette, aside from the fact that I think the palette size itself is a little bit big for what it is, but that's just an aesthetic thing. That's just me saying there's an awful lot of plastic around here. We could change that up a bit. In terms of the price point, I do think that it is very fairly priced. You're getting high quality shadows, you're getting 14 grams of product. If I compare it to Makeup Geek, those pans are just less than 2 grams each, and they cost $6 US. And so 7 times 6 being 42. This palette is 42. It's 42 Canadian, whereas the Makeup Geek would be 42 American, which is like 398 Canadian, or whatever the exchange rate is today. So it's not that bad. But it is very fairly priced for what you're getting. So keep in mind that this is limited edition. Having said that, do I think you need to rush out right away and go and grab it? No. I will note the palette that they had like this at Christmas did go on sale fairly quickly, so if you're interested but not, super hyped about it, I would wait and just keep checking back on the sale section of the Sephora website, because you may see this in, a month or so time. It's not revolutionary by any stretch. These kind of shades are around in other brands and in other palettes. But if you're looking for something new, if you just want to play with new textures or try out eyeshadows from Becca, absolutely, this performs beautifully. It's very blendable, and it is pretty packaging, and it is a fair price. The one that they had at Christmas, I think, were just eyeshadows based on their highlighters, which held no appeal to me. But these are all brand new shades that they have not released before, so I was excited to give those a try. So let's get into the eye tutorial. So just to switch things up today, I didn't use the MAC Soft Ochre Paint Pot. Instead, I just used a little bit of extra concealer to prime my eyelids, and then I set that with a loose powder. When I went into the palette, I then went in with this shade here, which is Seashell, just to further set that concealer because I don't want it creasing up. Then I took the bronze blending brush from Furless Cosmetics and went in with the shade Abalone, sorry, I have no idea, and used that shade into the crease and then up towards the brow bone as well. Then I used the short shader brush from Luxie Beauty to pick up the shade Spirit Quartz here and applied that all over the lid. And then I went in with the 350 brush from Suva Beauty and picked up this shade here called Ocean Jasper. This is a topper, and it has like a blue-green sort of reflect. So I picked that up with the brush and concentrated it on the inner portion of my eyelid towards the middle. You could potentially just do this with your finger, and that would be probably faster. but I liked the precision that the brush gave for that inner corner portion. Then to deepen things up a bit, I used the EO7 brush from Volaire and picked up Tourmaline? Fuck man, I promise I speak English. Then I used an eyeshadow brush from Quo and picked up this copper shade here called Sandstone. And used that along the lower lash line. And then finally I took my eye crease brush from e.l.f. and picked up this center shade called Mermaid Pearl and used that on the inner corner and along the brow bone as well. So I didn't want to overwhelm how nice and light the eyeshadows are by using thick black wing or anything of that kind. And I'm not sure that I'm in love with what I did use. I think that even just like smudging a brown pencil would work really well, especially on like the outer portion of the eye. But what I used were glitter liners from Urban Decay. These are the heavy metals. The pinkish one is Grind, and then the white iridescent is Pyro. So I used these as liner and then brought it, you can see here, under that lower, like the inner portion of the lower lash line as well. And then for mascara, I used the Stila Huge Extreme Mascara. It's got the same kind of wand as Better Than Sex or Lash Paradise, and it works beautifully. And that's it for the eyes. It's actually, it was a really easy look to do. Yes, I used 7 eyeshadows, and that's completely unnecessary and extra, but I don't think it looks overwhelming. Alright guys, so that brings us to the end of this video. Again, I really do like this palette, but I don't think that it is so different that I'm saying you absolutely should go out and grab this right away. If you're interested in trying something new, absolutely, I would recommend this. However, it's not anything revolutionary. Bye for now, guys. Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about the new palette from Becca. The, what the fuck is this thing called? And then Mermaid Pearl. Oops, I put them. I suck at this. 6 times 7, 42. There it is. God, I hope that math is right.